Morning.
Just give you a few seconds to find a seat. Good morning to those watching on live stream. Great to see you. Well, how are you all today? Three people aren't too bad. That's fantastic. We'll try that again. How are we all going? I'm just going to stop before this goes through that. For those who may not know me, my name is Maddie. I'm a pastor here at Summerhill. It's great to see you. I'm a week late for our first week back, which even Baptist time is 50 late. But yes, last week around this time I just got home from my COVID test, which was a far different way than I thought I would be spending the Sunday morning. Anyone have, don't put your hand up, the COVID test?
Yep.
Two things I just want to ask about. One, to see whether you have COVID, does the swab need to touch your brain?
Yes.
It doesn't. Like that went, I was shocked at how
Sorry,
much
Mary,
that went up the nose. I don't think any more. And the second thing, and I apologise if you've just had breakfast or something, but I've asked a couple of people just to get clarity on this, but with the swab, you know how they swab the mouth and the nose? Do they use the same end of the swab? They do. It felt like that, and I was weirded out. And it was not a pleasant experience. So I much would have rather to have been here last Sunday. But it's great to be here this morning with you. So if you're really just a few housekeeping matters, we're going to kind of be rolling over these for the next few weeks. So if you get sick of them, it's working. But basically toilets are on the wall to the right, the middle door through there. We have 3 toilets, or there are 2 more toilets. Head straight to the back wall of the foyer, turn right, and you find a little bit of a rabbit warren that kind of goes all around the place. But we have some toilets there for you to use. Parents' room is the room to the left of the toilets, and so if you need to change your child, like that's swap them with another one, but like change the nappy of your child, or I just need to kind of step out for a bit, you can head through into that room. We have creche and kids church that is operating this morning, and so just so we're aware, if you're here and you've got kids, you're like, what happens then? We'll give you the cue of when to head out for that. If you could help wash your child's hands before you head out. And can the creche volunteers and kids church volunteers stand up, please, so people know. So we have Claire and Gayleen on creche, and kids church is that Michelle, Phil? Michelle will be our kids church leader for today. And so you can head out there when we give the cue for that. We will be taking communion this morning. That will be handed to you. It has been prepared by someone who has undergone all the COVID safe processes and our kitchen, according to our kitchen guidelines, and that will be handed to you individually and collected individually as well. So you just stay and you'll see that it will be brought to you. Offerings, we no longer have the little shakedown bags that we used to have, but there is a box as you head out that you can just place your offerings in on the way. And we have no morning tea. That is still kind of being worked through at the moment, but basically the encouragement is, from what I heard last week, there was just a whole lot of milling around and chatting, which is awesome. But it's just an opportunity to kind of carry on those conversations beyond. As you can head out to lunch, you can head back to someone's place. It's a beautiful day, you can go to a park, you can go to a cafe, there's a whole lot of different options. So we just encourage you to just keep those conversations heading out. That you don't need morning tea to be here, you could actually go somewhere else and continue that. So just a few very quick little announcements of things that are coming up. But we have something tonight here called Value Your Voice, and I might just ask Jenna Blackwell, who is the Emerging Generations Leadership Developer, to come and share a little bit about what that is about. Jenna. On Monday, the 21st of September, we have a time where we have just been through as a church, probably a few months ago now, a branding workshop with S Group and a logo redevelopment. And so we have a couple of people from S Group, Ash and Mon, who are coming, who have graciously given their time to come and chat with us about kind of the report and the findings of that workshop. And so if you would like to hear a little bit more about what came out of really what we're looking at is what makes Summerhill. What are the things that we should be leaning into moving forward, as well as the unveiling of our new logo. And so, which is pretty exciting. We've had, I think, the previous logo for around about 40 odd years or so. So it'll be exciting to kind of see a new one come out. That is 7:30 to 8:30 here on Monday the 21st of September. And so now as we're going to come together, we're going to sing some songs soon. So this is an opportunity for us just to kind of take a deep breath and to, as Paul writes to the church of Colossae, to actually set our eyes and our hearts on things above. Because there's so much that fights for our attention in this world. It might be our Spotify playlist, it might be family, friends, it might be our work, there's a whole lot of stuff that's crowding for our attention. So this is a time that we can kind of come together and to sing and to focus on Jesus. I'm just going to hand it over to Janine to read us in prayer.
We are still before you now, O God. So let's be quiet and still. We've all reflected on the strange and unexpected journey we have had in 2020, and the journey that we are still taking, and the pilgrimage that we are still walking. So we all look to you as a child looks to a parent for fatherly comfort and protection, and needing your motherly nurture and warmth. You have shown yourself to us as a parent who cares. You have counted us as your children, who you love utterly and will never let go. So we bless you, O God, for your tender affection and for your caring that never ends. We thank you for our humanity that makes us vulnerable, but also open to intimacy. We thank you for our families. Challenging and confusing as they are safe places to be ourselves and to find home and love. And we thank you for friendship, where we can find refuge and strength. Thank you for our church family, diverse as it is, where old and young and everything in between can find community. For it is here that grace touches our resistance, mercy touches our frailty, and truth reaches into our hearts. And your arms embrace us in the wonder and mystery of your love. We thank you for our brother Jesus, who was human and vulnerable like us, but who knew the loneliness and intimacy of human life and extends us the gift of friendship. We trust him and follow on behind him, O God. And in these days of uncertainty and great worry, we can do nothing else but trust and follow. For who is more trustworthy and a loving shepherd and guide? Jesus is our light and life and the rock on which we stand. We thank you for the richness of our lives and our families and our relationships. We thank you for your presence, your comfort, which is our strength. Thank you for embracing us with immense mercy and with incredible love. And thank you for taking our sin-dead lives and making us alive in Christ. So we praise and thank you in his beautiful name. We worship you in his beautiful name. Amen.
Let's pray together. Lord Jesus, we do want to thank you for this amazing grace, this love that has been poured out for us that is so undeserved. And so we just come before you, and wherever we're at in regards to our understanding of who you are or what you have done for us, I just thank you that each person in this room is loved by you, and that is displayed and demonstrated in Jesus Christ dying on the cross. So we give you thanks for that grace, for that love that is poured out on us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Before I invite Ian to come and do the Bible reading for today, I'd just like to ask Lucas Carey to come up, and he's going to share about something that he and Robbie will be doing in October. Your choice, buddy.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Lucas, and this is Robbie. This is Robbie. Hello. Here to talk to you about this half marathon that me and Robbie are going to do in 4 weeks' time, Ross Half Marathon. We're raising money for Just Like Jack, which is a local charity. I'd seen Just Like Jack before at a few different events at Ross and Technical Point Pinnacle, but I didn't really know what they were, except they seem to push special needs kids around in racing prams. I thought, I could just do that. But we didn't think we'd be part of that community. You know, we've got Robbie here, he's got Angelman syndrome, and he might walk one day, but he might not. But we're part of Just Like Jack now, the group. We go running with them, and I wear the t-shirt often when I run. I've got it here with me. It's pretty sweaty and sore. Thank you, Janelle.
I'll work in there.
Take the bullet.
Fresh sweat on us. Just Like Jack, started by a local family, the Duffy family. Their teenage son got cerebral palsy. And they, along with their friends and their volunteers, they run all kinds of events around Tasmania. They do running events, kayaking, they do the overland track, amazing stuff, pushing or carrying their children around. And so the charity raises money for not only the wheelchairs, but for advocacy, for enabling families like us to feel involved in a new community, not kind of alone on the sides. So Robbie loves to go running with me. He roars at me to go faster, and the pram's a lot heavier than just running on my own. So if you feel led to donate, the link is on the church Facebook page, or you can just look up Robbie's Ross Half Marathon on Facebook. It's going to be happening in 4 weeks, and I can guarantee Robbie will cross the line first. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lucas. I can totally see you with a racing pram. Totally see it. Now's the time in our service for the kids to head out to their creche or kids' church time together, and so head on out. Remember to wash hands before we go, but we'll just pray for the kids as they head out. Heavenly Father, we do want to give you thanks for the kids of Somerville Baptist Church. We thank you so much for the amount that we have. We thank you for the passion and the exuberance and just the joy they bring to us. And we just pray for this time and for the leaders that this would be a time where they get to know how much you love them and care for them, and that they can grow in following you, Jesus, in your mighty name. I'd like to Ian come up and give our Bible reading for us.
Colossians 1, verses 15 to 23. The Son is the image of the invisible God, firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. and he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that everything he might have the supremacy. For God was pleased to have all fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. Once when you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behaviour, but now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you wholly in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. If you continue in your faith, established and firm, and do not move from the hope held out in the gospel, this is the gospel that you have heard and that you have proclaimed to every creature under heaven, and which I hold have become certain.
Thanks, Ian. I just want to ask a question now. Have you ever had your hopes dashed before?
Yep.
Have you ever had something that you were so excited for that you were looking forward to that maybe you were counting down, if you could remember like the physical calendars, maybe you were counting down like the cross on each of those days, and you were looking forward to it, and then something happened, something beyond your control, and then like it was done. That was a bit of how I felt last week, actually, because I was looking forward to our first time together. We've been talking about it, a group of us have been talking and praying and working through it for months. It had been, excuse me, something that I'd planned for, and since we kind of shut the doors and we weren't having services, we weren't having gatherings when that happened in March, it was something we were very much looking forward to, and I managed to make it from March onwards with nothing. Like all of our online, for those of you who kind of took part in our online services, really it was only the last one that got impacted by an illness, but every other one we were able to make, and it was really, really good. And then we went away to Strawn to celebrate my sister-in-law's 30th, and one night Evie woke up sore throat, coughing. The next day, Evie went down with it, and it was one of those moments that when you're in a family, you go, oh boy. Like, because you know it's coming for you. You know you have become the hunted. And so I remember Tuesday night, late night, I felt a tickle in my throat, and I just tried to smash it. Like, I was taking the vitamin C tablets with like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in there, that you're only supposed to have one a day. I was smashing 3 a day with a chaser of orange juice because I was going to get me that vitamin C. I was popping easy coals like M&Ms. I was doing everything that I could. Like, I was praying, and then I thought I was alright. Got Saturday night, through it, all good. Woke up 2 o'clock Sunday morning going, no. Like, it had just come, and so instead of being here with everyone that I've been looking forward to for so long, I was taking a COVID test, getting my head assaulted and violated. And so that was kind of, I remember sitting there, just kind of shattered last week. Just sitting there going, I couldn't quite fathom what had happened. And it left me to kind of ponder and reflect upon why was there so much frustration? Why was there so much disappointment? And I think 90% of it was that I was just looking forward to getting back and seeing people and catching up again and, seeing how people have been and hearing the stories. There was 10% of it that was like, I kind of really I had an idea in my head of how I wanted things to go, and I wanted to be there to ensure that things went that direction. And I think, has anyone experienced that before? Like, you've been involved in something, you've kind of had, you have your expectations of how you hope things to go. And, if it goes well, awesome. If it doesn't, you can at least debrief and work through it. But if you can't even be there, you've got no control. Like, it's completely done and gone. And so that was kind of what I felt. But in the midst of that, there was this revelation. Are you ready? Are you ready for this unhill? God is bigger than me. That was kind of where I came from going, at the end of the day, isn't big enough. I don't need to be there. Which was a difficult, I wanted to be there. That didn't take away the desire to be there and the desire to catch up with people. But I didn't have to be there. In fact, I got a message from someone last week, and I'm going to just share it. So it was, at the time, it was like, oh, but it was just so true in line with where I was thinking. I was saying, I didn't share this with the whole church, but I did have the thought that maybe we, all of us, were being reminded, I mean, rather forcefully in your case, that Jesus is the true and only head of his church. No person, not even the pastor, is more important than him. That's a great reminder. At the end of the day, it is Jesus, the one that Ian just shared about as he read from this letter of Colossians. This Jesus who is mighty and holds all things together, and through him all things have been created, and he reconciles all things to himself. Like, he's the one that ultimately, he's the big shot. He's the one that our focus should be on. He's the one that if he doesn't rock up, then we really can't do anything, and if we do, we probably shouldn't do it. Like, he's the one that our focus is to be on. And that was something that I had to sit with, because as great as it was, there's always this little part, oh maybe, I don't want to put this on anyone else, maybe this is my own stuff, but when you don't rock up to something and it goes really well, you go, oh, I'm glad it worked out, but I didn't need it a little bit. Like, there were photos sent to me, no one was freaking out. No one was sitting in the corner in the fetal position crying, going, where's Mommy? No one was doing that. All the things that I've heard from last week is that it was a good morning together. And so it's just an encouragement for me, as encouragement for all of us. At the end of the day, whatever we look like moving forward, it has to be centered around Jesus. This is the first passage that I preached on when I started at Summit Hill Baptist 5.5 years ago. This Colossians 1. I'm sure you all remember it. Yeah, I'm sure. No one's forgotten it. But that was the first message that I spoke on, and what is true then remains true now. That we must centre ourselves, particularly in this season, on the person of Jesus, to become more like him and to love more like him, whatever that looks like for our Sunday mornings, whatever that looks like for our life together as a church. Which means that my role as a pastor, which I've wrestled with through this whole COVID time, because when so much of being a pastor revolves around Sunday mornings, and then Sunday mornings are not the same, you're left with this, who am I? Like, what is this all about? At the end of the day, my role is to create space for people to encounter God. My role is to just kind of allow the space. It's to help people, help all of you, to equip and to empower you to encounter and connect with God, wherever you're at, whether you're following Jesus or not at the moment. But to help you to be able to do the stuff that you need to do in your life. Because we all have a part to play. We all have this purpose that is God has placed within us. And so if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing what God has called me to do. I'm moving out of that. And that's not a place that I want to be. Which is why I think this is last week when we got to hear some people share their stories. We're going to do that again today. Because it's so good, because every single one of us here has access to God. Every single one of us has a story from these last few months that God has been working in and kind of has his fingerprints over. And so we're going to have another time of sharing. We're going to hear from Zahara Riemann soon as she shares, but also I'm going to throw it open then after that for you. Like if there's people, what have you learnt about God through this last few months? What have you learnt about yourself? How has God been at work? We're going to open that up for a bit of time, and then I'll close in prayer and take communion. So I'd just like to invite Zahara to come up and share a little bit of her journey.
Hello.
So, I just want to touch on a few things. First of all, had a pretty interesting experience. But yeah, there's no right or wrong way to live through COVID. We've been given an excess amount of time, and what people have chosen to do with that has been different for everyone. For me, it's been a ride, and while I acknowledge it's been difficult for a lot of people, for me, it's actually been a really good year. I can see my blessings. I've gotten married, I got full-time work, I moved into a little home. I've had conversations with family that I would never have had before. Two of my sister-in-laws are pregnant. It's been a really exciting year, and I wouldn't change that for anything. When Thomas and I got married, we had a little bit of a plan of what was going to happen over the next few years. And just as I expect most people would when they get married, you look into the future and you're like, oh yeah, we're going to finish our degrees, get full-time jobs, travel Europe, buy a house, find a place in the church, start finish devotions, go on an exposure trip. And our days would look something like wake up, go to uni or work, rush back home, have dinner, read the Bible, go to bed, repeat. But we didn't get any of that. Instead of really busy, long days, long lectures and rush dinners, we had so much time. Particularly through the heat of COVID, we got sleep-ins and 24 hours a day together. Instead of late night studying, God gave us game and movie nights. Instead of rushed meals and headaches, God gave us lunches together and midday walks. I don't want to change what God has given us because we've had probably the most epic start to our marriage. As uni students, university has been difficult. University is often a place of community and support, but in saying that, I'm not saying what the government chose to do is bad. I'm just saying this is what it's like for a uni student. We paid $3,000 a semester doing 6 or 8 semesters, so it adds up. And at the moment, we're teaching ourselves at home, so we're paying $3,000 to stay at home. We miss friendships and support that help us get through each semester. Lectures that we thought would be easy don't make sense. Uni is also mixing with our home. Like, uni time is also home time is also work time, so there's no definition of what uni time is in comparison to home time. And I'm sure that's the same for some students before they went back to school. So I found it quite ironic that for a generation of people assuming is connected to their devices, we actually rely so heavily on relationship and connection in physical form. What was easy before has not been so easy without the guidance and support of our friends. Our careers are not that exciting anymore. Some of us aren't quite sure where we're headed because when we graduate, we don't know what job we're going to get. We don't know if there will be jobs available. So in these moments, you want to figure out what you want from your degree. For me, I just wanted to be paid for my time. So that's why I was going to uni. Instead of doing what I originally thought I would do, which was to be in the maritime industry, God gave me a job in marketing. So different. Other people are still figuring out what they want to do and how this all affects them and their futures. So I'd encourage you to pray for uni students because this is a really interesting time. As for my headspace, I've been a passionate advocate throughout COVID to not become accustomed to the doom and gloom that the media presents us. I know there are some serious hardships, but my coping mechanism is to focus on the immediate things around me. So I don't think I watched the news in ages, and it's been really good. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 6 to 18, the verse reads, "Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." So while I understand I've had it pretty easy in comparison to others, I still challenge you to rejoice in everything. Find and acknowledge things that will make the day good. For me, it was that this week we got a 16-degree day. The sun was warm. Yesterday, Thomas went fishing, brought home dinner. It was just really good. I rejoice because God gave me things to rejoice. Also pray because it's the most beautiful way to experience God. Give thanks because while everything might seem a little gloomy, God is working. When reflecting on this year, COVID has been okay for me, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the mindset that Thessalonians asks us to have. But it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to not have a good time throughout COVID because it has been hard work, and for people that have it really tough and really so take to your Bible, reach out to family, friends, or community members, church, and get some support around you because this experience is not quite over yet.
Thanks so much, Sahara. There's some really profound morsels that I'll be thinking through. And I do love the fact that because we're in Tasmania, we rejoice over 16-degree days. Is there anyone else? And so I don't really have anyone else lined up at the moment, so this could fall flat on its face, but I'm cool with that. But I just wanted to give other people an opportunity to share, like, what has been their experience, what has God been teaching them, what have you learned about Him or yourself through this time?
I don't quite know how this will come out. Not having thought about it beforehand, but as a lot of you know, I was diagnosed with leukemia in 2011 and was treated in 2012. And since then, my husband has tried to get me away from Tasmanian winters so that I stay well and healthy because my immunity has been very low. Then this year came COVID. And I'm quite sure that if I caught COVID, I wouldn't be even talking to you today because my immunity to everything is so low. And yet COVID has given the opportunity for us to experience the Tasmanian winter for the first time since 2012, I think. And at first I didn't go anywhere or see anyone or get out of the home because I knew it was too risky. And yet because we couldn't go away, my specialist has been able to start me on intravenous immunoglobulin, which has really boosted my immunity. So because of COVID, I feel that I'm much healthier than I would have been if we'd just gone away travelling this year. I've also been able to have cataract surgery and I've been on the waiting list for a long time. So in spite of COVID, I got to the top of the list and had that surgery done. So I've just found that God uses all things in our life to bring about His purposes, and we sometimes focus on the negative, but it's really good to focus on the positives.
Thanks so much for sharing, Colin.
For us it's been a bit different. I would say depression was about that far away. But I have found if it wasn't for such things as Skype, I think Sharon and I would be jibbering messes by now. But it's our families that have helped us through this. And of course, our two kids and kids-in-law and 4 grandkids all live in Melbourne. And our son and daughter-in-law live in a hotspot, which has been a bit of a concern. So, our evening prayers for people in Melbourne have been getting longer and longer and longer. But particularly our daughter and son-in-law and their two teenage girls have really helped us hold it together. And what they've been doing on a fairly regular basis is they've been putting together a music video clip and putting it on Facebook. And because my son-in-law really loves his music, he's got vinyl collection and CD collection, like you wouldn't know. So they've done a few of these video clips have been quite entertaining. And they thought, well, we might stop doing them now because, you know, it takes a bit of effort. One of them took about 12 takes to get right, one only took one take, another to get average. So they decided they'd stop doing them. And then my son-in-law was getting messages from people that have been watching what they've been doing on Facebook and said, look, what you've been doing has been really good for us. And one of them said, I was having a particularly really bad day, and then your video clip came on, and it just lifted my spirits. So could you please keep going? And so they did. And last night's effort was a particularly average Rod Stewart one. But the one we did walk like an Egyptian with the four of them doing that was fantastic. So, yeah, being able to at least see our kids on Skype has been really nice. But I do miss their touch and their stuff.
Thanks so much for your honesty and vulnerability.
So probably in the November or so of last year, I decided to leave my job and go into business for myself. It's funny because so my plan was basically to become a graphic designer who could sort of hire myself out to various companies because I knew that partners get busy and they don't always have the stuff to go around. So COVID happens. That doesn't happen. But you know, in that, I think I've been obviously on the other side of the camera from Maddie for however long, and I think it's probably made me paid a lot more attention to church than ever before. Not only do I be there in the room while I'm preaching, I then have to watch it in very intricate detail the following days to actually edit the whole thing together. And then everyone would sort of be contributing their own music and their Bible readings and prayers to me as well. The whole thing is something I was really quite happy with. I thought it worked out really well. But that's not to say there weren't times where like anybody, you get on a bit of a low end and just sort of one of those, and then just someone from here would send me a lovely Facebook message or a card or something, and so God really kind of gives you what you need when you need it. You don't always have everything you want. I know that there's quite a lot of wants that I've had over the last few months and not been able to get, but yeah, just to be able to have what we need is been really important.
Hara got up there before and said her sister-in-laws were pregnant. Well, they're my daughters. And I think I'll just be sitting here sharing. For those that know Sarah, my elders, she's very much a people person. She's in Melbourne, Cameron, married in Mornington. And she's been stuck at home for, I guess, 6 months, 5 months, I think we're talking. And to see her attitude towards being pregnant and being at home is amazing. Even her friends at church would say how positive she is, like to be stuck, not being able to do anything, really, it's quite different than here. It's quite amazing, really, because I know my daughter pretty well, and she's just travelled. I think for her to fall pregnant through this has been the absolute best thing for her. She's due in January, and the issue is that Sally and I may not see our grandchild. That's probably the reality for a while, so we just hopefully that can change. So that's affected us. We talk on the phone like everybody does with their kids, but yeah, so I thought I'd share that. And to another thing, I was thinking with work, I've spoken to a lot of people through this, and it's hit and miss with your industry, whatever you're in. And I've seen people, or heard of people who have lost everything, whatever, if they're into cafes or whatever it is where you can't meet. But in my industry, it's been ridiculous. And you think, because no one can travel. So anything to do with home decors or stuff like that, it's just, so when it's happened in March, I panic bought, like a lot of people did. I went and bought on my decking so I could get home and thought, we're going to be stuck here doing nothing for a long time. So I thought, I've been bored, so I went on my decking, and then I went back to work and it just went bang, 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 bang. And it's just, you think back at this time and think, wow, how different society, seeing all your older people home. Like when I sit in my work and I look out at the traffic, August, July, honestly, where church down in Bathurst Street, it's pretty dead. It's been buzzing, and I've never seen it like that ever since I've been there. So different times, it's weird. It's funny having everybody back in Tassie. It's weird. I feel sorry for the guys who can't go.
You're not the person who has done walking from the back.
I guess it's something that's come reinforcing a belief that I knew all along, that we are the church. We can lock up all the church buildings for 6 months, but God's church will survive. And I think those that have been involved with the online ministry over the last 6 months, they deserve a big shout out from us all. I think they've done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
I read something in our Campervan Motorhome Club magazine last month or a month before, I'm not sure. But there was an article by our national chaplain, and he was saying how he believes that through this this virus time, a lot of people have been thinking about their spirituality. He quoted how he has been involved with a similar thing to what we've been involved with the internet. And he has a little church of 20 people, and yet he's still doing this service for them over the internet. And he was saying how he's had up to and over 60 people, what do they call it? When they log in, that's it. When they log in to that program. And he's got a church of 20. God's church will survive whatever the world throws up at us. And I think we need to continue to pray that people will explore their spirituality during this time. Things are getting back to normal as far as we're concerned. In fact, it hasn't altered our routine very much at all. I do the shopping anyway, and it meant that Colleen could be home where she was safe, and I haven't noticed a big change, but I just wanted to share that with the church. It's not the church. The church is not the people, not the building. The church is the people. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Nice to see you here today. My experience moving into COVID was, I likened it to a time where a group of us went into Bangladesh from some help. It was quite scary and overwhelming, it was unknown, and it was going to evoke a lot of work in my life because I'm an essential worker and I work with children. So that time just felt like going into Bangladesh, and it was just the group that we went with, Wells and Andrew and somebody else, and we had to just be together and sort of work it out and move through it, and that's how COVID felt for me. So that time of meeting after the church services in the Zoom, that was really significant time for me, connecting with other people, talking about the service each week, and that was really what drove me through COVID and really encouraged me and spurred me on. It made me think deeper about what was being taught, and just seeing everyone's faces was very encouraging. So, yeah, there's been some really big blessings. My boss came to me at one point and said, right girls, we're going to look at cutting contracts. And then all these girls rang in and said, I have to stay home, so I have to teach my kids. I have to be at home. So the girls that needed to be at home were able to be at home, and the others were able to keep all their contracts. So there's been some big blessings in work and personal, and it's been an exciting journey, although a challenging one.
Hi everyone, I just thought I'd say a quick thank you to everyone who's all the thoughts and prayers and visits and meals and things for people for Lucy being born a month ago now, so almost a month ago, so my 4 was born a month ago, and it's been wonderful of course, and one thing that has been a blessing for us over the past period is that with my work, I've been working at home since March, and that turned out to be a really good thing for us because my wife had a bit of a tricky pregnancy, and with gestational diabetes, which means eat different and exercise and all that sort of stuff, so that made it much easier than at home to help with kids and all that during that period. The first bit was a really, like the first couple of months of the harder lockdown, it was a time where previously we thought, we really should slow down. And we tried to slow down, and then we did slow. And it was, I felt like God was showing this is what slow looks like, because we didn't just go and visit family, no birthdays, no outings out about. It was really, really slow. And coming out of that and being away from church as well, it's been something where realising where the value of it is, because sometimes we think, church, and it's not church going, what is this church going thing we do? Whereas, the church community, and again, as mentioned, people is the important bit, and how that looks like, and it's not the dirty, but it is important. So that's something that we really need to learn, being away from it, even connection online has been an interesting experience. But yeah, I think that's something that God's been teaching us about. So it's been hard, and it's been really hard for a lot of people. For us, we're thankful that God said, keep doing homeschool for another year. Like last year we thought we're going to have to keep having another go, and then all of a sudden everyone's doing it. So I think that was something God has been very faithful
people that were kind of wondering whether to get up or not, so I just encourage you to, to invite each other out for lunch, invite each other out for coffee, and go and catch up and be able to share some of those stories. Because every single person here has had a story, has had an experience of COVID. Some of us, it has been, didn't really notice it. Some of us have noticed it acutely. And so it's just really great to know that we can do this together. As John and Michael shared, the church is the people of God. And so I really want to encourage you in doing that. Let me lead us in prayer and communion, and then we will have a song and we'll close our time together. Let's pray. Father God, we come before you and we just thank you so much for who you are. We thank you for your goodness, we thank you for your grace, we thank you for your Son Jesus, we thank you for your faithfulness to us through this season. We thank you for your love and compassion of those who are burdened, who are weary, who are tired, who are travelling well. We just thank you for your heart for all people. We thank you, Jesus, that you are our King, that you are a living presence in our lives, and that you are our exemplar. Thank you for the invitation to follow you into your kingdom, your rule, your reign, your reality that you long to see come on earth as it is in heaven. And would you help us, wherever we're at, in our understanding of you to respond to that in what that means, that invitation. Thank you for the stories that we've heard here today. Thank you for your story that they are all knitted together. I thank you for Zahara. I thank you for what you have done in her life over the last few years. And all credit, all glory, all praise and kudos go to you. And we just thank you so much for her wisdom and what you are doing in her life. We pray that you will lead and guide her into the future that you have for her, and help her to remain close to you. And I thank you for everyone else who has shared. Thank you for the people who have shared so openly and honestly and vulnerably about the good and the bad and the in-between this season of COVID. We thank you that you are with us. Thank you that you are near to us. Thank you that you are being present in our lives, and that we heard so many stories of this happened, but we sensed you doing this. We sensed you laying this on our heart. We sensed you saying this to us. And we just thank you for your near presence to us through this time. And thank you for the sharing of people, all people today, that their stories have pointed us to do. And so I pray that for each and every one of us here today, that we will examine our hearts and our life stories and what are they saying to the world around us. Are we happy with that story? Are we proud of that story? Would you help us? But for us who say that we are Christians, would you help us to discern whether we are actually following you, Jesus, or we made a decision once which we're wrestling? Would you help us to discern what's going on in our hearts? Help us to, for those that are curious and have their interest in spirituality has spiked through this time. I pray that you will put the right people in our lives to be able to share that journey and share Jesus as a part of that. So Holy Spirit, we invite you into our hearts, into this space, and you lead us so that we may know your heart and intent towards us, Father. In your name we pray. Amen. As we come to a time of communion, I just want to read a passage for us. It's from Paul's letter to the Philippian church in his 3rd chapter. I just want to read 10 verses because really what communion is about is reminding us of the greatness and wonder of who Jesus is and his love for us. So I'm going to read these words because I think these words are enough in and of themselves. And then the bread and the cup will be brought around to you, and then I'll pray for us. Philippians chapter 3, verses 1 to 10. Whatever happens, my dear brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord. I never get tired of telling you these things, and I do it to safeguard your faith. Watch out for those dogs, those people who do evil, those mutilators who say you must be circumcised to be saved. Thank goodness that's not true. For we who worship by the Spirit of God are the ones who are truly circumcised, for we rely on what Christ Jesus has done for us. We put no confidence in human effort, though I could, Paul says, have confidence in my own effort if anyone could. Indeed, if others have a reason for confidence in their own effort, I have even more. And he's about to list off his Jewish credentials. I was circumcised when I was 8 days old. I'm a pure-blooded citizen of Israel and a member of the tribe of Benjamin, a real Hebrew, if there ever was one. I was a member of the Pharisees, people who taught the Jewish law, who demand the strictest obedience to the Jewish law. I was so zealous that I harshly persecuted the church, and as for righteousness, I obeyed the law without fault. I once thought these things were valuable, but now I consider them worthless because of what Christ has done. Yes, everything is worthless when compared to the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord, as King. For his sake, I have discarded everything else, counting it all as garbage so that I could gain Christ and become one with him. I no longer count on my own righteousness, my own ability to do the right thing through obeying the law. Rather, I have become right through faith in Christ. For God's way of making us right with himself depends on faith. I want to know Christ and experience the mighty power that raised him from the dead. I want to suffer with him, sharing in his death, so that one way or another I will experience the resurrection from the dead. For those that have come to distribute hand out the elements, you can come forward now. We thank you that the bread that we hold is a reminder that Jesus' body was broken for us on the cross, that a way was made for us to know the heart and intent of the Father through Jesus giving his life on the cross. And we thank you that the cup that we have is a reminder that Jesus' blood was shed for us on the cross, which means there is forgiveness. There are second chances that we can live lives free of condemnation, regret, shame, and guilt over things that we have done or things that we have not done. We thank you for that precious gift. We thank you for the gift of the infinite work of knowing Jesus Christ. And may we share, as we've gone through this time of difficulty this year, help us to know that you bring us out. Help us to know that it doesn't reign forever, that where there is death, there can be resurrection. We thank you, Jesus, for who you are and what you've done for us. In your name we pray. Amen. Let's leave it together. Amen. Now I just have one more little thing, and it's been alluded to, you can take a seat if you want. There's one that's been alluded to in the time of sharing, but I just wanted, we've been through a very interesting, different year, a year in which I don't think there was any conversation around something about what's going on online, really, COVID. Sorry for that, copying the mic. But we just wanted to take time to say some thank yous to people, and then there's three people in particular that I would like to kind of just say a big thank you to for the role that they have had in getting us to this point. And so to everyone who contributed music over our kind of exclusive online season, so to Jared Emring, Janine O'Loughlin, Lucas and Rachel Parry, Andrew, Sally and Thomas Riemann, to Dan and Claire Ritchie, and then Fiona Clay and Ethan Ritchie, just really wanted to thank you so much for the music that has been provided over the last 5 months. So to Wayne Whelan, who was a special guest pastor of Summer Hill one week on online church, and to Claire Ritchie, who gave a communion. Delivering to a camera is a different beast than delivering to an audience, and so just thank you to them for being able to step up into that. That was just hugely appreciated. Actually, it might be good. Could you go and grab Michelle and everything? It'd be great to give to our kids church team who kind of took kids ministry online, and that was a process of trying to work through. It was huge conversations around that, and just wait for Phil and Michelle because they put in a lot to that time.
Put on a screensaver.
So I think Nick and I spoke about this at length, but thank you to Andrew for the green screen that enabled there to be a really good quality background.
Yeah.
To that, thank you very much for your expertise and skills. To Jan and the pastoral care team, and there were other people that stepped on through the season to care for one another, and just massive props to everyone that was on that team. Thank you to Jan for her leadership of that. Michelle, I just want to say thank you for everything that you did in regards to Kids Church. For Michelle, to Phil, Janine who stepped in, to Roger who is unable to not here today. Big thank you to each of you, and to Lily Ritchie as well, who put a fair bit of contribution into that. It was fantastic, so thank you to everyone. And to the O'Loughlin's, to both Janine and Kevin, for putting together the prayers that became such, for me, a really deep and meaningful part of our online time. Really thank you to each of you for that. Very much appreciated. Really.
I think we should say a huge thank you to our pastor, because he's had to talk to us just with a camera. Can you imagine how we'd be talking to a camera?
and for putting up with me, I mean, come on.
So I wanted to share, now there's 3 people that I particularly wanted to thank for the pivotal role they played in getting us to where we are. And the first one, unfortunately he's not here today, but Roger, if it wasn't for Roger, we would not have had an online platform. So Roger. And so when we actually got the news from ScoMo that basically gatherings would go like no more over 100, that kind of put us out, because at that point we were like between 90 and 105, and so we decided the best thing to do, the safest thing to do, the most loving thing to do for all of our congregation was to stop our services. And I met up with Roger. He cleared time within 2 hours to meet to talk about the ideas he had to actually get us online, and so Roger just went above and beyond and continued to do that with the youth minister, and just, massive props to Roger. So thank you. Roger, that's coming for you, mate. And then our first online, so some of you may remember this, but it was a little bit kind of the Joker from the Dark Knight camera angle, because really it was like once it was the Wednesday that we heard, and we filmed something on the Friday. I filmed something on the Friday by myself like that, and Nick about 5 minutes in went, dude, I can help you. for like months, it's not going to end well. And so Nick kind of carved out so much time and effort and energy, not just to put up with me and filming, but to edit and to get everything up and running. And so, mate, it's been an amazing few months, and I've enjoyed and loved our times and coffee together for that. And so, yeah, massive thanks to Nick for everything he did. But then also, you may notice we're kind of back here. It's been 2 weeks, 1 week for some. But if it wasn't for Kevin O'Loughlin, we would not have been able to be here. Andrew Moises did a great job starting off the COVID safety plan, and then Kevin, when he shared his story with his trainings, that he'd done a few COVID safety plans already, and he's like, I could probably do the church one, and I didn't realise just how significantly complex it was in so many ways, and so he put hours and hours and hours, maybe days or weeks into this COVID safety plan so that we could be here together in this time, and he just went, it was incredible, and I was so thankful for Kevin. I could have done anything like that, and Kevin led the trainings as well, and so just Kevin, thank you so much. There's no way we could be in this place without all the effort that you put in, and thank you, thank you very much. And so I want to close our time by just reading the passage that's on the front of your bulletin here. It is a reminder that as the church is about the people, but at the end of the day, it is Jesus Christ. He is the focus. He is the head. And so I just want to read this passage, and then we will finish our time. Thank you for being here. Feel free to chat and invite people out for coffee, lunch, all that jazz. That's been great. Thank you for those who have tuned in online as well. Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 to 18, from the Passion Translation. It says, when Jesus came to Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples this question: what are people saying about me, the Son of Man? Who do they believe I am? They answered, some people are convinced you are John the Baptizer, others say you are Elijah reincarnated, or Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. But you, who do you say that I am? Jesus asked. Simon Peter spoke up and said, you are the anointed one, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, you are favoured and privileged, Simeon, son of Jonah. For you didn't discover this on your own, but my Father in heaven has supernaturally revealed it to you. I give you the name Peter, a stone, and this truth of who I am will be the bedrock foundation on which I build my church, my legislative assembly, my gathered people, and the power of death will not be able to overpower it. Amen. One more thing that has been brought to my attention, Andrew, if you have been in to look at Creche and Kids Church in our other building, you'll see that quite a significant transformation has happened, and we really want to thank Sally Reumann, who drove a whole lot of that, and Andrew put some of that together. We just thank you so much, Andrew and Sally, for everything that you were able to do to ensure that our kids have a far better space than they had pre-COVID. And so, yeah, hugely appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Okay. Dismissed. All right.